All right, my name is Shridhar Rao. I'm a president of a company called Landsmart Consultants. We do civil engineering work, and we continue to do that for a few select clients. I've transitioned from being a civil engineer to now a developer, so I do real estate deals. I think it's a national progression of events from being a young staff level engineer to now more like in the development area. So it's been a good journey. I've been in the US for about 30 years. I live in Orlando, Florida. I travel a little bit, and looking forward to being a productive citizen, I suppose.
Hi Shri, welcome to the PrimaVerse first podcast with the clients.
Okay.
So I know you for 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
but before we go into details how we work out, can you walk out your journey from Mumbai, your humble beginning, to coming all the way to US in 1992 on freezing cold 31st December?
Yeah. My journey to US started over 30 years ago. Back in 1991, I had an opportunity to come here. I was offered an assistantship at a university in Deep South, Auburn, Alabama, of all places, called Auburn University. And I decided I wanted to experience the new year over here. So back then, in late 1991, you had an idea of what America was, but you really truly didn't know what America was. So when I showed up here, I was surprised to find a small college town in America with approximately 40,000 people, roughly about 25,000 of which were students. So it was a very small college town. I arrived here on 30th December, and the first thing I remember coming here was driving through Atlanta, Georgia, and it looked picture perfect, just like what you would see in Hollywood movies. And then about an hour and a half later, we show up at the small town. It was like a completely different setup. So, and I remember it being very cold, at that time. And being a college town, most of the students had gone for the holidays. So the only people you would see on the streets are usually international students, and a good portion of them are Chinese and Indians. So that's where I started my journey. Came here as a young student, specialized in civil engineering. I did my master's, took about 2.5 years. Eventually, I landed a job in Orlando, Florida, and worked for a local company called Universal Engineering. And I specialized in geotechnical sciences. Although I started my career as a structural engineer, I focused in my master's more on the geotechnical side of the business, including materials testing, soils, hydrology, hydrogeology. So that started my journey at a local organization over here, and it was a good organization, and I worked with them for about 15 years. The company really was a family-run business. I enjoyed working with them, and started my journey as a young staff level engineer, worked my way up. And about 15 years later, I decided I had enough. I'd moved my way up. There was a ceiling I couldn't break through. I wanted to try something on my own, and decided to quit just before the market crashed and start my own practice. And that was in 2006 or 7. Yeah, 2007 was when I first started my company. And I decided to not pursue a career in geotechnical anymore because it was capital intensive. Starting in operations in geotech was capital intensive, and it's also a little bit risky. Meanwhile, I was fascinated with the process of development, and I had worked with several engineering companies, and I kind of liked what they did. It was slower pace, less number of projects, but you had a little bit more personal attention to the clients. I was able to successfully start my practice as a civil engineer, as a small consulting boutique civil engineering company. And our role was mostly to take a project from inception all the way to permit approvals and not through construction, although we would participate once in a while in making sure that the infrastructure that they installed was rightly done. So that was what I did since 2007 to as recently as 2022. So I did that for about 15 years, and during my journey as a site civil engineer in Orlando, Florida, catering to mostly developers, landowners, investors, entrepreneurs. It was a good journey, you know. Started small, and I wanted to keep it small because I enjoyed the process. And then over the last 10, 12 years, I shifted gears into development side of the business, which is really what I was passionate about. So during my journey as a civil engineer, I was I received an email from a company called PrimaVerse. At the time, it was a startup.
Yeah, we are very.
You had just started. No.
That was way back in 2014.
That was way back in 2014, and I was struck by some of the words that he put in there, and decided to pick up the phone and call him, and that's how the whole process started. I was curious about how this business model would work. I had attempted to try something like that earlier, about 10 years earlier. I couldn't make it work in America. So I was kind of glad to see someone else taking that challenge up and moving forward. So over the course of next few years, I had Yogesh come over here, and then our business relationship started. We worked and collaborated over several projects.
Most probably did about 50 plus, right?
Yeah, possibly. Around 50 plus, and most of our projects were retail, commercial projects and residential projects. Commercial projects included car washes, retail, shopping centers, big boxes, warehouses, and residential projects range from townhomes, single family, to multifamily apartment complexes. So, and initially it was a little bit of a learning curve, but what I found was Yogesh and his team were very prompt in responding. They were eager to learn, and the small learning curve that we had was not really that big of a deal. So the business relationship was great because I would instruct them, let's say in an evening. Yeah. And by next day I would have the results along with the.
That's evening in India.
Yeah. So if I send instructions in the evening, they would receive that in the morning, and then while I'm sleeping, they're busy working. So within about 24 hours, I would have the results. So there was hardly any time lag in terms of delivery, and I found it to be easier and more efficient to get projects done. Naturally, it was cost effective as well because we were working through outsourcing process in India. So I was able to be competitive with my clients over here. Being a small shop, having a resource that I could rely on, and being able to deliver the projects on time, promptly, with good quality, that meant a whole lot to me and my clients. So, and that relationship has evolved over the last 10 years. We have now become good partners. We work on several projects. I have transitioned fully into a development role, but I do still use Yogesh and his company.
Yeah, we lost a lot of business in recent years.
Yeah.
You moving into development.
Yeah.
Where we're doing 10 projects, we're doing about a couple of them now.
Yeah, but it's not that big of a loss. So I still engage you to do your own projects. So.
But I realized that when we were working, what difference I saw between you and other companies was we used to get a freedom to design, think, that many companies did not give. I can tell, we started working with about 5-6 employees, and now it's about 100 employees plus. Yeah. So the people will not give away your company Landsmart Consultant work to anybody because they get it to do it from the scratch.
Yeah.
Whereas other companies will only give us your instructions and follow that. You don't grow as a person.
Yeah, man, I enjoy the process of almost like coaching, So, so it was, it's interesting to effectively transfer what you learn over here to really talented engineers in India, and to give them a perspective of how things are done over here. Some of the nomenclatures are different. Some of the processes and technical terms that we use are different. So, and they were able to overcome it really well.
So how much time did it take? So initial learning curve?
The initial learning curve, I think it took like 1 or 2 projects.
And the period will be 3 months or so?
Yeah, 3 to 6 months. But, very quickly realized that once they got a hang of it, that stayed in their mental databases, and they were able to continue on other projects and use some of the lessons they learned on previous projects. So over time, it became easier. It became easier working with them. It became easier, obviously, with Yogesh as well. And the fact that Yogesh came here at least 2 or 3 times a year.
2016, I started meeting you personally.
So from 2016 onwards, he would show up about 2 or 3 times a year and spend a few days with me. I would give him basically
all the projects.
I would basically walk him through all the projects, and we would drive together. We would look at projects that we had done, how he designed, and we were also able to look at some of the projects that we actually completed. So he got to see how his design impacted the actual construction process. So we've done several projects where we started from inception all the way to approvals, and then from approval to design. So he was able to follow through the entire progression of events from the beginning till the very end. And along the way, there was some lessons learned, but it kind of gave him a good perspective on how what he designs actually shows up on the plans, and then eventually gets built for the design required by the engineer of record.
I remember going to the car wash multiple times, going through the car to see the car wash, how it operates.
Yeah.
Or how do the vacuum cleaning, how the layout is.
Yeah.
Similarly, I remember going to the lot of residential projects where you can see how they laid out, even Miami curves.
Yeah.
Force mains and other things.
Force mains and all this infrastructure.
Lift station, how it works.
Yeah.
That the coming here, so right now it's our 22nd trip to US in the last 7-8 years, barring COVID.
Yeah.
It gave me a different perspective that you can see on the site and that you can transfer.
Yeah.
So what you would suggest that you would look into when somebody wants to build an outsourcing relationship to any company, not India, maybe anywhere?
From my experience over the 10 years working with PrimaVerse, number one, you're working with engineers. The talent pool that I've seen at PrimaVerse, they're not draftsmen. They're actually qualified engineers. A lot of them have engineering degrees. They do a lot of drafting work, and their engineer skill sets does come in handy. They're able to absorb and pick up on terms that normally would be difficult for an average draftsman to do. So that's a big plus. At some point in time, some of the engineering talent that I've seen, they have evolved into actually going to a little bit of design. They can do a little bit of design. They still need a little bit of hand holding, but once they get a hang of it, it's easy for them to progress from being a design draftsman to now an engineering draftsman. So that kind of helps. It helps that the talent pool is really good. I think you've grown up to about 100 employees right now. And the good news is, if there's continuity in the project, because Yogesh usually assigns a team with a client. So if one of those kids are sick or not able to make it, he has resources that he can deploy to make sure that the project doesn't suffer.
I remember doing a lot of projects, sitting at your office as well, when it was tight deadlines.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Residential projects you need to submit.
Yeah, some of those. About 6-7 years ago, I had a back surgery, and Yogesh and his team were instrumental while I was going through recovery, and I had 3 back surgeries, in ensuring that the project deadline didn't suffer. So he was able to accomplish a lot of projects with minimal input from me. So the project kept going on while I was going through a recovery process.
But does visiting the here helps?
Absolutely. I would recommend, and at some point in time, and I know Yogesh expressed it, he would have some of his engineers travel to US as well, and see firsthand the project that they have worked on. It does help, because now you have one-on-one communication. You can go over the projects. You can almost value engineer some of these projects, get a different perspective. So the one-on-one relationship and visits periodically does help. As most Americans over here, civil engineering and construction industry is relatively interpersonal basis. We value interaction between people. So to that extent, it really helps that Yogesh shows up at least 2 or 3 times a year. We get a chance to interact.
I get good food at your place.
That's besides the point. But
Yeah.
but yeah, we enjoy working with each other. We've had good relationship. It's evolved
So
into a friendship.
you worked with US company for 15 years and then about 10 years you are in the outsourcing.
Yeah.
So there was a learning curve would be in when somebody joins in US company as
Yeah.
well, and some learning curve remotely. So how much difference you see in that? Time wise. You're somebody sitting next to you and somebody sitting 10,000 miles away.
Quite honestly, I didn't see that as a big drawback.
How much patience you need as well?
Once you get having the Zoom facilities, the video conferencing facilities, and he's got a pretty good setup over there. It really helps, because 25 years ago we didn't have that.
Yeah.
So the need to have one-on-one local interaction to convey ideas has been simplified a lot by Zoom. Even today within US itself, you have a lot of draftsmen who prefer to work from home. So the interaction is still virtual. So it really doesn't matter whether it's local or whether it's in India. And I've noticed the time his employees they work late. If I ask them to stay up late to go over the projects, and I've had times when some of their employees work till about 12, 1 o'clock at night for them, while I was busy here exchanging ideas with them. So I enjoyed and I really like their commitment to professionalism, to their client, to the delivery, timely delivery. Some of these civil engineering deadlines are brutal, and
It's all money based.
It's driven by
finances.
mostly. And I was happy to have a partner on the other side that would devote the time and the resources that was needed to get the project done in time. So we were able to accomplish quite a few projects without having to delay, despite the short timeline that we had to go through.
And how much is the language barrier or a communication barrier? Do you face, because there is the accent that when you listen?
Well, to be honest with you, since I hail from India originally, I kind of understood going in that there would be an Indian accent. I personally have Indian accent still, and I've been here for over 30 years. So it wasn't that big of a surprise for me, But I can imagine an average American client or a civil engineering client would be apprehensive about communicating with a young professional half a world away. What I would suggest and I would recommend is be patient. If you don't understand, don't hesitate to ask him to slow down and speak twice. And they know English. It's the accent sometimes that becomes a little bit of a challenge, especially for Americans who are not used to an Indian accent. So what I would recommend is communication. Don't hesitate to ask them twice, ask them to slow down, and just to be on the safe side, validate everything that you've spoken through an email so that you guys are on the same page. There's no miscommunication.
And then to simplify these, the teams and other things have done a transcribe now, so you can actually read what it is saying.
Oh, I wasn't aware of this.
Yeah, you can actually. So a lot of American people, when we speak, if they don't listen, I get used to, because I speak with 150 clients over a year. But a lot of kids or a lot of employees doesn't get a chance. They put a transcribe so you can read below what it is saying. And you can record the meeting.
There you go, technology. I'm still old school.
Yeah, exactly. Record it. And how did you do it? Did you send the red lines through the hand or through the marker?
I'm a little bit guilty. As an engineer, I like to work directly on CAD. And I've been yelled at many times by Yogesh not to touch any CAD files.
Oh, I made money out of it. I made double price out of it when you charge.
So typically the way the process would work is, you get a plan, you see some changes. The best thing to do is to use PDF writer and mark it on your PDF and send it over to them so that they can make those changes as you recommend. Hand red lines are fine as well. If you're in an early stage of a project, let's say you want to do a concept plan, Yogesh's kids or his employees are good enough to where if you give them a napkin drawing, they can take it from there. They will at least get you a quick draft, and you may have to make some red lines, but you will get the concept plan going real quick without having to devote your time in front of a computer, and you can move on to bigger and better things. So his employees have evolved to a point where they can take a napkin drawing, which most engineers and old school guys like me tend to do on a project, and they could take it from there, bring it to life in a CAD file, and then it's an interactive process between them, and it's fairly easy. Once you show them the red line, they pick it up, they put it on a CAD file, and you get it the next day. So in terms of efficiency, speed, in terms of quality, it really works out well.
So you are in the US for about 30 years now, plus minus.
Yeah.
So you are almost American. You are a citizen, but by lost Indian now.
This is my adopted home.
You adopted home. So given a thing, if somebody wants to do this work, other person, what he should take a preactive measures to make it work?
Are you asking for a new client?
New client, something that you have done that other person should do so that it works out better. What as a preactive thing, what he needs to do?
Just keep an open mind.
Okay.
What I would recommend you future prospective clients for you, Yogesh, is just keep an open mind.
Mm-hmm.
This is the way of the future. There are efficiencies that you would really appreciate. Besides the savings in cost, that's the obvious advantage. Besides that, I think the efficiency in getting things done quicker. Once you get a machine going, it goes smoothly. And there's a little bit of a learning curve for the first few projects. And then what I would advise is, if you find something that's lacking, don't hesitate to pick up the phone, call up Yogesh and say, Yogesh, there's a few things that I need to have discussion about. I'm disappointed by some of the work that you've done, so that he can take corrective actions. Give him a chance to respond to anything that concerns you.
Yeah.
And so that he can calibrate his guys, he can coach his kids, for lack of better words.
I get a lot of emails from other companies like ACO and other things, so outsourcing. You must be getting similar emails like competitors of Prima was like in hundreds.
Yeah, I get at least one a week.
One a week or more than that as well, as you depend.
But you were the first one to call me, so.
Yeah, but having said that, how much does it matter as a practice that visiting helps building a trust with the
Absolutely, it does.
Because that's the competition that because I treat it as an investment, meeting a client.
Yeah.
So I meet every client once in 6 months.
It's an investment in relationships. Our industry in Florida, which is where I'm based, Central Florida, as in the rest of the country, is very, very personalized. We still do business old school. We still like to shake hands, size each other up, and then decide we want to do business with each other. The entire real estate industry is a reflection of that thought process. So it's critical that you have one-on-one. So I would suggest that you continue to come here, because it builds relationship, it grows your business. You never know what else could come out of these discussions, and it's a nice thing. It's nice to know that your vendor or your consultant that you're engaging values you as a client enough to where he can travel half a world away and take the time and meet you and discuss any concerns, or participate in
what I've
company
seen
growth.
over the years as well is some of the clients were unhappy initially, but there was a misunderstanding. But meeting them, that helps to solve
it solves those problems
as well.
Yeah.
And then it restarts the relationship.
And it also helps you learn what you could do differently.
Yes, absolutely. And then what the client expects.
And so much of our business is basically meeting expectations or managing expectations. There are certain expectations set by the client to you: delivery time, quality of work, interaction with people, commitment of your resources over to my projects, and that's what a client's expectation is. You being here helps us establish that setup. And if it doesn't work, maybe things could change.
And then coming to this is more of a business. Now coming to the personal side, since you're in that line, you did structural, come to the geotech, and now going to development.
Yeah.
How in current world and with AI thing, how much is the education matters to your professional life, and what should these young kids that are there should look into?
Education. You mean college education?
College education, they get a graduate, they should do it that way, or what should they look into it? Coming to the US, opportunities, India.
For Indian graduates?
Indian or outside?
Outside,
US?
okay. There's look at education as a tool, as a knowledge-based tool to grow as a person. It is very likely that what you're educated in, your classical education, may be very different than what you eventually end up doing.
It happens mostly.
Yeah.
I did structures. I don't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. So keep an open mind. I would suggest that learn and grow. And I say this to my kids all the time. Love what you do and do what you love. If you're in a job or any situation that you're not enjoying, it's time to make a change. You're going to do yourself a service, and you're going to do your employer a service as well. Nobody wants an unhappy employee. So if you're not happy in what you do, change your course. It's okay. Don't get hung up over, hey, this is not my line of study. This is not I'm qualified for, and I need to focus entirely on this field. Things change. So keep an open mind, be flexible, and learn. Interact. There's still a good amount of business, at least in America, that I'm aware of, is still one-on-one. So go out there, network, get to know people. We have wonderful tools nowadays to where you can expand that network.
LinkedIn and
you have LinkedIn, you have all these platforms, you have all these social platforms that you can use and leverage and grow your business, come up with ideas, maybe run your own business at some point. But those are tools. Nothing changes though your one-on-one interaction with people that you want to work with. So,
and you studied at VJTI, the premier institute in India, where 100 people get admission in a civil.
Our batch was a batch of 656 engineers.
Yeah, 56. So that I know that's like if you get in VJTI, you are done for the life. At that time,
I'm not sure how it is now.
Now it's you have multiple engineering colleges. I'm talking about 92.
Yeah.
And then you came to US studying. So what difference you saw in terms?
Oh, massive. When I came here, I had zero idea what America was all about. I grew up fairly in a modest home. We lived in what was known as a chawl, which is not a whole lot different than favelas in Brazil. And that's where I grew up. So came from a very modest background. Somehow got lucky enough to get to a premier institute, and then got lucky twice being able to be offered an assistantship at Auburn, Alabama. So, Lady Luck smiled. And at the time I was, not very aware of what America was all about. In fact, I wasn't even sure where Auburn was. So it was a huge culture shock coming from a massive city like Mumbai, which at the time was a city of 15, 20 million people, to a small town American town, which was about 40,000 people, 25,000 of which was university students. So it was a huge culture shock, and we had no idea how life in small town America was all about. So every single day was a learning curve. We discovered new things.
And you do it by alone. You cannot go back as
back then,
there was no phones.
There was the phones was about $3 a minute. So it was painful making those phone calls because it hurt you financially. And it was an experience. Fortunately for me, I had good roommates, I had good friends, and the people that I worked with at the time in Auburn, the college university, was wonderful. The people that I interacted with was really great. I did not experience any of the negative that people associate with Alabama at the time, and I had relatively good experience. 2 years learning curve, learned a lot about America, a lot of good, a few bad, but overall a very positive experience.
So coming to the end of it, when I came first time in US in 2016, I landed at JFK in New York for a business visit.
Yeah.
And looking at the massive scale of US, I was really afraid. Oh, you cannot go back even if you wish to, like, because it's 24 hours away. And you came probably 25 years earlier, where there was no facility.
Yeah.
You cannot like, think of going. There was no way you can book a flight.
No. I had a one-way ticket. That's all I arrived
so
here.
Whether you had an experience of thinking, oh, I made something.
No. Well, the whole experience for me back then, going back in time, was surreal. Until I actually got on the plane, I thought I was literally I thought I was dreaming. And over the entire flight, I was bawling, literally crying, and questioning every single decision I made in my life. And and a part of me at the time thought, maybe it's a dream. I'll wake up in the morning, I'll be still at home, but it wasn't, And then what you learn in Mumbai, growing up in Mumbai, which is a massive city, you tend to become a bit street smart. So, and then once I got in, I remember landing in Heathrow. I had to go from London Heathrow to Gatwick, and that in itself was an experience. But then your survival instinct kicks in. At age 20, 22, you are ready to face life. So I arrived here with $700 in my pocket, all of it which was borrowed, with a one-way ticket.
But you had a public transport in Mumbai, so how was that in US?
Oh,
so how do we manage that?
That's an interesting episode, because when I came here, I landed in Atlanta, and I really didn't have a good idea of where Auburn, Alabama was. So my intent was to just walk outside Atlanta airport, hail a cab, and then catch a cab all the way from Atlanta to Alabama.
Oh, you must be finished.
And that was, things were done differently. You had to call a cab. So fortunately, I was helped out. I arrived Auburn at around 1 o'clock in the morning on December 30th.
Which is cold.
And it was cold. And that's the first thing I remember, how cold it was. And then, interestingly enough, one of my suitcases was missing.
Oh.
So that's the one which had all the lentils that my mom had packed. It had all the
food,
the spices that my mom had packed. We were so ill-informed that we had no idea that America didn't have lentils and rice, and so my mom packed all of that just to get going, So it was a different life, completely different life. We were so misinformed or ill-informed or uninformed about how life in America was that, I came prepared, but one of my suitcases went missing. It showed up like 3 days later with a trail of lentils right on the on the sidewalk. But it was a good experience. First 2 days was almost like what do you call it? A paradox, or was almost anti what I was expecting America to be all about. It wasn't all tall buildings and shiny glasses.
It's all only in New York, man.
That's only in the urban cities. And
downtown.
Back then, that's what we were exposed to. We were exposed to Bollywood.
That's
and
what we
Hollywood
have seen the
movies,
movies, right?
So we had no knowledge of how general life was, So this was it was an interesting experience. Despite the cold, I had relatively good time in Auburn. There was a lot of things that I learned. I fortunately had an assistantship, so there was some financial pressure, was not a whole lot. I was able to navigate through all the challenges a young immigrant would have at the time, education included. And then 2.5 years later, I moved to Orlando, Florida. And Orlando was a great city to be in. It's a tier 2 city in America. Has the home of Disney World at least. So, and I've seen the city grow about 4 or 5 times.
That's more of the India weather as well.
Yeah, and the weather was very
actually
nice.
Similar to Mumbai, right?
Very similar to Mumbai with less pollution. So it was.
It was when you came, it would have been a very less pollution. Now it has grown up.
Yeah, it's okay. It's compared to India, there's no pollution over here.
So I was looking at the air quality index. India, you have been 150. Here you have been 50.
Yeah.
And when I come here, I don't get cold. I don't get any fear when skin becomes better.
That's true.
So just to summarize the working with PrimaVerse or in your journey, if you want to summarize before we close this podcast.
My relationship with PrimaVerse has been fruitful. You know, it has been advantages for me. It has worked very well.
Same here as well, because I got introduced to a lot of companies through your reference and working with you. So
even that's what business is all about, right? You help each other out. You see a good product out there, you let other people that you know about that product, and you maintain that relationship. You know, so you know my relationship has been good. You know, we've become good friends now. You know, I wish you continued success.
Oh, thank
and
you.
I know at some point in time you'll have an IPO out there.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
that's a dream.
And I'm happy to play a small part in your success.
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
I owe you that.
You're welcome. so you know, in conclusion, I wish the family at PrimaVerse successful adventure in the future. I'll continue to engage you.
Okay, thank you.
Continue to use you guys. It's been fun, and I look forward to continuing that in the future.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Shri. Nice meeting you.
You're welcome.